The Awakening. The message arrived on a cold Wednesday morning, precisely 183 years after humanity had been deemed too dangerous for the stars. Dr. Ilara Voss was reviewing satellite data from the outer markers when her terminal flashed red. As Earth Defense Protocol Director, she'd seen countless false alarms, radiation spikes from distant stars, cosmic anomalies that triggered the overly cautious systems. But this was different. System, verify transmission source, she ordered, her coffee mug suspended halfway to her lips. Transmission authenticated. Origin, Galactic Concord Diplomatic Channel. Channel has remained inactive for 183 years, 47 days, 9 hours. Ilara's mug shattered on the floor. The Galactic Concord, the very alliance that had cordoned off Earth's solar system behind impenetrable barrier technology nearly 2 centuries ago, was reaching out. The message was brief. To Earth leadership, Concord faces extinction. Entity designated the Devourer consuming systems. Conventional weapons useless. Need human warfare capabilities. Barrier restrictions lifted. Respond with urgency. Within 30 minutes, the Global Defense Council had assembled in the underground command center beneath the Himalayan mountains. Representatives from every continent sat in stunned silence as Ilara played the message. Is this some kind of trap? General Kai Jung's weathered face twisted with suspicion. The same aliens who called us too volatile and evolutionarily predisposed to violence now want our help. Chancellor Maya Okafor, head of the council, leaned forward. The authentication protocols are genuine. The question isn't whether this is real, but how we respond. Admiral Lucas Reyes, commander of Earth's hidden naval forces, cleared his throat. If the Concorde is desperate enough to contact us after all this time, the situation must be dire. Their technology was centuries beyond ours when they sealed us off. Not anymore, Ilara said quietly. The room fell silent as she activated the holographic display embedded in the table. 3-dimensional projections of spacecraft. Massive, sleek vessels bristling with weapons that defied conventional physics, materialized above them. Project Harbinger, she explained. While we presented a peaceful face to the universe, we never stopped preparing. These ships represent warfare evolved beyond anything the Concorde could imagine. They quarantined us for our capacity for violence, General Zhang said, a hint of pride in his voice. They feared what we might become if left unchecked in the galaxy. And they were right to fear us, Ilara responded. We've spent nearly 2 centuries perfecting the art of destruction, even as we cultivated peace among ourselves. Chancellor Okafor studied the projections with troubled eyes. If we deploy these forces, we reveal to the galaxy everything we've become. There's no going back. And if we don't, Admiral Rice countered, whatever this devourer is will eventually find its way to us. We'll face it alone, without the benefit of learning from the Concorde's failures. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Earth would answer the call. Within hours, signals reached installations hidden throughout the solar system. On Mars, underground factories that had operated in secrecy for generations increased production. In the asteroid belt, shipyards concealed in hollowed-out planetoids activated dormant assembly lines. Beneath Europa's ice, weapons testing ranges prepared for final systems checks. But the most critical signal reached a facility buried deep beneath Antarctica's ice sheet. Ilara arrived at the Antarctic base 12 hours later. The cryostasis chamber was already warming when she stepped through the airlock, her breath visible in the still cold air. How long until revival? She asked the supervising physician. Another hour before consciousness. Brain activity is already increasing. Ilara approached the transparent cryopod. Within it lay a man in his early 40s, his dark hair graying at the temples, his body lean and muscled despite decades in suspension. Admiral Jace Thorne, Earth's most brilliant and brutal military mind, placed in stasis when the peace reforms threatened to make his kind obsolete. He's going to be disoriented, the physician warned. The neural modifications make the transition back to consciousness challenging. "I know what he is," Ilara said quietly. "My grandfather helped design him." Admiral Thorne was the last of the Enhanced Strategic Command. Humans modified at the genetic level, their neural pathways restructured to process battlefield information at superhuman speeds, their emotional responses calibrated for optimal combat performance. They had been deemed too dangerous for peacetime society. Most had chosen termination when the war ended. A few, like Thorne, had opted for cryostasis. "We need what he is," Ilara added. Exactly 1 hour later, Admiral Thorne's eyes snapped open, ice blue and immediately alert, scanning the room with predatory assessment. His gaze settled on Ilara. "How long?" His voice was rough from disuse. 63 years, Admiral." He absorbed this with a curt nod. The threat? No confusion, no emotional reaction to learning he'd lost decades. Just clinical efficiency. This was why they needed him. Something the Galactic Concord calls the Devourer. It's consuming entire star systems. Conventional weapons are ineffective. Thorne sat up, disconnecting monitoring equipment with practiced movements. The Concord asked for our help. Begged for it. A cold smile crossed his face. "Show me our capabilities." Over the next 5 days, Thorne absorbed decades of military advancement. He studied the Harbinger fleet specifications with the focused intensity of a hawk eyeing prey. The 12 dreadnoughts, each capable of reducing a planet to molten slag, would form the core of humanity's response. Supporting them would be 36 destroyers, over 100 frigates, and thousands of fighter craft. When the briefings concluded, Thorne stood on the observation deck of the orbital shipyard above Mars, watching as the final preparations were made on his flagship, the HSS Nemesis. "You understand that even with the Harbinger fleet, you'll be facing an enemy that has already defeated a technologically superior civilization," Ilara said, standing beside him. "The Concorde has better technology," Thorne agreed, his enhanced mind processing a dozen tactical scenarios simultaneously. "But they've forgotten how to wage war. They've forgotten the mindset of a predator. And you remember?" His cold blue eyes met hers. "I was built to remember, Dr. Voss. Humanity's most ancient instincts, perfected through genetic engineering and neural enhancement." Ilara suppressed a shiver. "The Council has conditions. Once this threat is neutralized, you and the Enhanced Strategic Command veterans are to return to cryostasis." Agreed. His response came too quickly, too easily. "I don't believe you," she said. Thorne's smile never reached his eyes. "A wise position. But right now, you need me more than you fear me." 3 days later, the Harbinger fleet departed the solar system, the barriers that had confined humanity for nearly 2 centuries parting before them like curtains. As the Nemesis led the formation into faster-than-light travel, Ilara Voss stood in Earth's orbital command center, watching the fleet vanish into the darkness. "We've just unleashed our most devastating weapons on the galaxy," Chancellor Okafor said quietly, standing beside her. "I wonder if the Concorde will thank us or curse us when this is over." "Both, likely," Ilara replied. "But first, they have to survive." As the Harbinger fleet accelerated toward their meeting with the Galactic Concorde, Admiral Thorne sat alone in his quarters aboard the Nemesis, reviewing battle plans. The neural implants at the base of his skull pulsed with activity as his enhanced mind simulated thousands of combat scenarios. The Concorde had cast out humanity for being too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. Now they would discover just how right they had been. The reckoning. The Harbinger fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the coordinates provided by the Galactic Concorde, or what remained of it. Admiral Jace Thorne stood motionless on the bridge of the HSS Nemesis, his enhanced mind processing the scene before him. Where a thriving Concorde outpost should have been orbiting the binary star system, only debris remained. Fragments of once massive space stations drifted in expanding clouds. Among the wreckage, a handful of alien vessels limped along, their designs unfamiliar to the human crew. "Life signs?" Thorne asked, his voice betraying no emotion. Commander Savina Chen, his second-in-command and fellow enhanced soldier, consulted her display. Approximately 12,000 survivors scattered across 14 damaged vessels. The largest appears to be a command ship. Open communications. The main view screen flickered, revealing an alien bridge bathed in emergency lighting. The being in the central position had a vaguely avian appearance, 4 eyes arranged in a horizontal line across a feathered face, thin limbs ending in delicate manipulators. "This is Admiral Thorne of the Earth Defense Force," Thorne announced. "We're responding to the Concorde's distress call." The alien's eyes widened in sequence. "Earth, the quarantined world." Its translator rendered the voice with a melodic quality that couldn't disguise the underlying fear. "I am High Commander Trezel of what remains of the Galactic Concorde's 7th Fleet. What happened here?" Thorne asked. "The Devourer." Trezel manipulated controls, sending data to the Nemesis. "It came 3 days ago, absorbed most of our defensive fleet, consumed the station before evacuations were complete." The data appeared on the Nemesis displays, sensor readings showing a massive shifting darkness that seemed to bend light around its edges. Weapons fire passed through it without effect. Ships disappeared into it without trace. "Your weapons did nothing," Thorne observed. "Worse than nothing," Trezel replied, mandibles clicking in distress. "Energy weapons seemed to strengthen it. Matter-based weapons passed through it as if it wasn't there." The alien commander's posture conveyed exhaustion and defeat. "We've lost 32 systems to this entity. Trillions dead. Where is it now?" "Heading for the Helios cluster. 7 inhabited planets, over 40 billion Concorde citizens." Thorne turned to Commander Chen. "Analysis. The entity appears to consume energy of all types," she replied, her enhanced mind processing the data far faster than any unmodified human could. "Based on its movement pattern, it's not mindless. It hunts." "Then we hunt it back," Thorne said. He returned his attention to Trezel. "My fleet will proceed to the Helios cluster. Have your remaining ships fall back to your nearest stronghold." Trezel's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "You don't understand. Nothing stops the Devourer. Nothing even slows it down. Our most advanced civilization has tried for months." "You've never seen humans fight," Thorne interrupted coldly. "Nemesis out." As the communication ended, Tactical Officer Maya Rodriguez, one of the few unmodified humans on the bridge, stepped forward. "Sir, shouldn't we gather more intelligence before engaging? The Concorde has been fighting this entity for months without success." "Their fundamental approach is flawed," Thorne replied. "How so?" Thorne gestured to the tactical display. "They're defensive, reactive. They wait for it to attack, then try to stop it. That never works against a superior predator." "And your approach, Admiral?" A cold smile crossed Thorne's face. "We hunt it, study it, find its weakness." "With respect, sir, what if it doesn't have one?" "Everything has a vulnerability, Lieutenant. Even gods can bleed." He turned to Commander Chen. "I've analyzed the Concorde weapon signatures. They're using directed energy weapons, plasma, laser, particle beams. Energy that feeds the Devourer." Chen nodded, already following his logic. "We'll try something different. Prepare the reality warping munitions," Thorne ordered, "and load the singularity torpedoes." Rodriguez paled. "Sir, those are planet killers. The Concorde banned such weapons centuries ago." "Which is why they're losing," Thorne replied coldly. "The Concorde forgot that sometimes survival requires the unthinkable." He returned to his command chair, neural implants interfacing directly with the ship. "All vessels, set course for the Helios cluster, maximum speed. Prepare for combat deployment." The Harbinger fleet vanished into FTL, leaving the shocked Concorde survivors behind. For the first time since it appeared, the Devourer was about to encounter a predator that might match it. The Helios cluster was in chaos when the human fleet arrived. Millions of refugees clogged space lanes as they fled the approaching darkness. Concord defense ships formed a futile barrier between the Devourer and the innermost planet, their weapons already firing despite previous failures. Thorn watched from the Nemesis bridge as the Devourer consumed energy beams like they were offerings, growing larger with each attack. "Signal the Concord ships to cease fire and fall back," he ordered. "All vessels, deploy in hammer formation." The human fleet moved with mechanical precision, spreading into a wide arc facing the entity. The Concord ships hesitated, then retreated as ordered, their commanders too desperate to question this strange new ally. "The Devourer is altering course," Chen reported. "It's noticed us." Thorn nodded. "As expected, it senses our power signatures." He opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, power down to minimal life support, appear vulnerable." The massive human warships dimmed their weapon systems, presenting the appearance of defenseless targets. "It's taking the bait," Rodriguez observed, watching as the massive darkness changed direction, flowing toward the seemingly helpless human fleet. "Wait for my command," Thorn said calmly as the Devourer approached. "Wait, wait." The darkness loomed larger on the view screen, a perfect absence of light that seemed to bend reality around its edges. It accelerated toward the Nemesis, eager to consume this new energy source. "Now," Thorn ordered. "All ships, deploy singularity torpedoes and fire reality warping munitions." The human fleet erupted with activity. Small devices shot forward from the warships, while the main cannons fired not energy beams, but warheads that distorted the fabric of space-time itself. The effect was immediate and devastating. Where the singularity torpedoes detonated, the Devourer seemed to be pulled into impossibly small points, portions of its mass compressed to near infinitude. The reality-warping munitions created ripples of distortion that cut through the darkness like knives through flesh. For the first time, the Devourer recoiled. "It feels pain," Thorn said, that cold smile forming again. "All ships advance and fire at will. Target the rupture points." The human fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. Unlike the energy weapons of the Concord, humanity's forbidden arms struck the Devourer like physical blows, tearing holes in its substance. "The entity is attempting to retreat," Chen reported, unable to keep the surprise from her voice. "Pursuit course," Thorn ordered. "Deploy flanking frigates to cut off its escape route." Rodriguez watched in amazement as the tactical display showed the Devourer being herded like prey. "You're actually hurting it." "We're doing more than hurting it," Thorn replied. "We're teaching it fear." For 3 hours, the battle raged across the Helios cluster. The human fleet coordinated with inhuman precision, their enhanced commanders processing complex tactical data in seconds. Every time the Devourer attempted to escape, human ships anticipated its movement, cutting off its retreat with more singularity torpedoes. When it was over, the Devourer had been reduced to less than a third of its original size, the remnant finally escaping by diving into the system's sun, vanishing into the stellar mass. The Concord ships cautiously approached the Nemesis after the battle. High Commander Trezel's voice came through the comms, his translator struggling to convey his mix of emotions. "Admiral Thorn, I don't understand. How did you harm it when our weapons only made it stronger?" "Simple adaptation," Thorn replied. "Your weapons fed it energy. Ours fed it nothing while tearing apart the fabric of reality it exists within. These weapons..." Trezel's voice faltered. "The Concord banned such technology centuries ago. They violate our most sacred conventions of warfare, which is why you were losing," Thorn said bluntly. "Conventions are luxuries for times of peace." After the communication ended, Rodriguez approached Thorn. "The Concord representatives look disturbed by our methods." "Let them be disturbed," Thorn replied. "They called us because we're dangerous. They don't get to complain about how we accomplish what they couldn't." Chen joined them, her face animated with an expression that might have been excitement in a normal human. "Admiral, we've analyzed the battle data. The Devourer didn't just retreat. It changed its behavior when hurt. It's learning." Good, Thorne said. So are we. He turned to the tactical display, where signals showed the Devourer's energy signature moving deeper into Concord space. Set course to intercept. The hunt continues. For 6 weeks, the Harbinger fleet pursued the Devourer across Concord territory. Each engagement followed the same pattern. The entity would attempt to consume a star system. The humans would arrive and drive it back with their forbidden weapons, inflicting more damage each time as they refined their tactics against its evolving defenses. Word of the human fleet's success spread across Concord space. Planets that had prepared for evacuation or destruction now watched in hope as humanity's warships established defensive positions around vulnerable systems. On the 43rd day of the campaign, the Devourer changed tactics. Instead of fleeing deeper into Concord space, it turned and headed directly toward the pursuing human fleet. It's not running anymore, Thorne observed from the Nemesis bridge. It's learned enough to try a counterattack. The Devourer had evolved. Its formless mass now showed structure, tendrils that could lash out with devastating force, shields that could deflect some of the human weapons. It's adapting to our methods, Chen said, studying the sensor readings. Learning from each encounter. Thorne nodded, as any good predator would. He turned to his command staff. Prepare for direct engagement. Modify the reality warping munitions to variable frequencies. It's time to end this. The final battle took place in empty space between star systems. The Devourer, now half its original size but far more dangerous, met the human fleet head-on. For 20 hours, the confrontation raged, a ballet of destruction as human ingenuity matched against cosmic horror. In the end, it came down to Admiral Thorne's final gambit. The Nemesis, its weapons depleted and hull breached in multiple sections, plunged directly into the heart of the entity, its reality drive modified to create not propulsion but destruction. The resulting detonation tore a hole in space-time itself. When the distortion cleared, both the Nemesis and the Devourer were gone. 3 days later, Commander Chen stood before the hastily assembled Concord Council, now joined by a holographic projection of Dr. Ilara Voss from Earth. The threat has been neutralized, Chen reported, at significant cost. The Concord Supreme Minister, a tall, crystalline being, leaned forward. The Harbinger fleet saved trillions of lives. The Concord acknowledges its debt to humanity. And the quarantine? Ilara asked. Lifted permanently, the minister replied. Humanity has earned its place among the stars. Chen's expression remained neutral. Admiral Thorne anticipated this outcome. He left instructions. She activated a data crystal, specifications for defensive systems against similar threats, to be shared with all Concord worlds. What she didn't share were Thorne's other instructions, the coordinates for his emergency escape pod, ejected moments before the Nemesis's final plunge, now drifting in deep space awaiting retrieval by human forces only. Some weapons, Thorne had written, should remain exclusively in human hands. The galaxy would need guardians in the darkness to come. As the Harbinger fleet prepared for its return to Earth, the message rippled across Concord space. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage. The species once deemed too dangerous for the stars had saved them all. The predators had become protectors, but they remained predators still.